In this part of the video, we will look at AWS Data Firehose. So this is a series of videos that I will be putting, which is related to the preparation of data analytics specialty AWS certification. This is very important because I'll be covering a lot of topics in depth, because this certification is covering a lot of tools in depth. You need that in-depth knowledge. So let's start with Firehose, and we also need to know Firehose in depth. So visualization is the best way of learning things. What I tried to do is I went through a lot of documentation from different websites and went through AWS materials and in the Amazon website, and I've created this content. So for me, it is very easy to understand if I make everything, you know, uh, presented in a picture. So take this example, Kinesis Firehose. Okay, so what is Kinesis Firehose? What it does is it is similar to Message Broker. You use it for streaming of the data. So you have certain set of sources here, you have certain set of targets here, and this is used to stream the data on a real-time basis. This is called real-time data streaming. Now, what sort of data you can stream? You can use sources like AWS IoT. This is Internet of Things. You can use logs like CloudWatch logs. You can use mobile applications which is constantly sending some log data to Firehose. These can be potential sources, and but the targets, it can be only one of these four or all of these four, whatever. The target is like S3 bucket. This is S3 bucket, Redshift, Elasticsearch, and Splunk. Only these four targets are supported in Firehose. Now, if you want to uh, send this data, Firehose data, to something like a Mongo database, so you have provision to send the data to HTTP endpoints. From there, your Mongo database or other applications can take that data. This service is self-managed. What it does is, there is a buffer size in this Kinesis. So if the data is keep on reading and is writing here, so there is a buffer size. So sometimes, because of the buffer size, so there is a concept of throttling. What it does is, if the reads are high compared to writes, then there is a throttle, and Firehose will automatically increase the buffer size and buffer interval. This is how self-managed services behave. Now let's look at how do we create delivery streams. So usually Kinesis Firehose is in between. You have source and you have target where it is writing. So to create a delivery stream, you can use a console or create delivery stream operation. You can use these. Let's look at compression now. So compression, if you are writing to S3, you can compress that data in gzip, snappy, and zip format. Only these three formats are supported. If you are writing to Redshift, then you can use gzip only. The compression works for these two targets only. Now, what if your source is CloudWatch log? So how does the compression work here is, CloudWatch is already sending compressed logs. This from source to target, it is already sending compressed logs. If Kinesis Firehose compresses it again, there will be double compression. So what is needed is compression is not needed here. This is important. Let's quickly look at encryption. So how does encryption happen here is, when you're writing to S3, encryption is done after writing data to S3. When you're creating a delivery stream, in that GUI itself, there is an option whether you want to encrypt the data or not. If you select that option, then the data will be encrypted using the KMS keys. Now, what is KMS? It is a key management system. It's just like, for the locker to work, you have to give the key. So when you go to the bank, if you have a locker in the bank, you have one key, and the bank manager has one key. Both of them will have to put their keys, then only this will be accessible, the locker will be accessible. Similarly, the key management system stores the encryption key. In order to decrypt the data, first the application will have to go and take the encryption key and then decrypt it. So KMS is a part of encryption and encryption is a part of security. Now what if you want to transform the data before you write to S3 or Redshift, etc.? So you have to trigger a Lambda function. Lambda function, it is a serverless uh, application. You can build applications or you can write functions which is serverless. It is dirt cheap, and the only problem is it has a very short span. I mean, that Lambda execution should happen in, say, I think it is 10 minutes. It should happen in that, otherwise the processing stops. So you cannot use it as ETL. For ETL purposes, you should use Glue. You can only use for minor data formatting, minor data transformation, because it will help you reduce the cost. Now it is serverless. What is meant by serverless is it is serverless and it is cheap because you don't have to maintain a server like EC2 instance. When it is not in use, you can the Lambda will just stop. So there will be no charges attracted to it. Whereas in EC2, you can stop it, but there are storage charges because EBS will be storing some data for that EC2 instance, and there will be storage charges. In Lambda, there is no storage charge. The function runs and does whatever transformation it is needed to do, and it completes and kills itself. Now it is important to take a source record backup when you are using Lambda for transformations, because what if the data after transformation gets messed up and you want to troubleshoot what went wrong because the data in the target doesn't match what was expected. For that purpose, you should hold the source record backup in S3 bucket. That way, if anything is messed up, you can use it to troubleshoot. So these are the buckets that should be used to put the source record backup. Now, if there is a error while processing the data, so Lambda can log it in CloudWatch errors. I mean, as a using the CloudWatch. Similarly, if there is an error in Kinesis, like Kinesis was trying to invoke Lambda and the invocation failed for some reason like network timeout, etc., then what will happen is the firehose will send that error to CloudWatch. So what is CloudWatch? It is another AWS service. It is used to monitor errors, etc. It stores logs if you want to do that. It is very useful from a monitoring standpoint. Well, let's look at buffer size and interval. The Kinesis firehose by default, the for S3 targets, if this is your target S3, the buffer size is this much, 1 MB to 128 MB. If the target is Elasticsearch, then the buffer size is 1 MB to 100 MB. The buffer interval can be anything between 60 to 900 seconds. But what if you are compressing your data? Your buffer size may look high and the actual data that is received on S3 may look small, but that is fine. But if you think that why my data is smaller than the buffer size, this may be the reason because you have compressed the records. So if you are using this service, you want to give access for the source target to send the data streams, you have to create IAM roles. The first role you have to create is this one. You see this? You need to assume IAM role for Firehouse. This is the first role. You have to assume the role. That's why you are in this action. You are saying STS assume role, and you are allowing this. This is the first thing you have to do. Then for the source systems like this, Internet of Things or CloudWatch logs, if they have to write, then you should provide access, this one, like action for delivery, delete the delivery streams, put record batch, update destination. This access should be given put record, so that the records can be put here. Now, Firehose can use glue, the table structure in glue, to format the data. It can use that table structure and then invoke Lambda and get the data transformed and formatted in that way. If that has to be done, then you have to provide access to glue also. So what access you need? Kinesis Firehose will have to access glue. So Kinesis Firehose, you have to give Kinesis Firehose access so that it can do glue get table version and get table versions. This access you have to give. Now once you have assumed the role, you will have to give these access also to describe the stream, like what are the streams here. You have to get the shard iterator so that you can start from that point only in the next batch, get records, list the shards. This access you have to give to perform these operations. Now your target suppose is S3. So in order for Firehose to write to S3, you have to give that privilege also. What will you do is this: you will use these actions about multi-part upload. See, from year to year, if the data is very huge, you can do a multi-part upload. So you will provide this access: get bucket location, get object list bucket. This is standard, and put object. But what if your bucket uh, and this bucket, you are not the owner, someone else, it is a cross account. In that case, you will have to use put object AC1. This also you have to put here, because you have to give the other uh, person, the other owner, full access to the objects that you are writing there. Now if you are going to use encryption, then see, this is a standard code. You don't have to mug this up. This is when you are trying to create a delivery stream, you will get the standard code, you can copy and paste it. Okay, but just for concept perspective, you have to decrypt, provide this access, these actions for a encryption and decryption. Now what you also do is this Kinesis Firehose, in case of error, you remember in the previous slides I showed that you will put the data in CloudWatch. Those are logs. In order to do that, you have to provide this access also, no? Logs, put log events. This access you have to provide. You have to give this privilege. Now if you want to invoke Lambda from here for data transformation, you have to use this one action, Lambda invoke function, get function configuration. This you have to provide the access. Now what if you are writing to Redshift? So when you are writing to Redshift, right, it's a two-step process. See, writing to S3 bucket directly, if S3 is a target, it's a one-step process. But writing to Redshift is a two-step process. What it does is Firehose writes to one intermediate bucket first, and from that bucket a copy command is done to write data in the Redshift cluster. So now from an access perspective, logically you think what will happen? You have to provide access to for all those S3 stuff that we did. Now you have to do this, plus you have to provide insert privilege for this Redshift cluster. Okay. Now what if this Redshift is in a VPC? Let's see that example. What access will be needed? You have to do something additional, one additional step. So take this example, this Redshift is in VPC. So what you have to do is, this Redshift must be publicly accessible with a public IP address. This Redshift should be publicly accessible. This is the first thing. And the second thing is, you have to grant Kinesis Data Firehose access to Redshift by unblocking the Data Firehose IPs. So this Data Firehose IP, you have to unblock it here so that this guy can talk to this guy. So how to unblock it? So there are set of subnets. So you can use this for each region has certain set. So you can use this, and you have to provide insert privileges. So in a nutshell, you see this blue text. What you have to do is, since you see Firehose writes to S3 first. This is an intermediate layer, and from S3 it writes to Redshift. So, and then KMS here is used for encryption, and CloudWatch is used for error logging. Error logging from Firehose, error logging from S3 bucket, error logging from Redshift also if anything messed up here. So what access is needed now? So in a nutshell, to summarize, you need access for S3, that intermediate record holder. You need access for KMS. I already showed you the JSON script for that. You need access for logs, that also I showed you, and S3 also showed you. Then if you're using Glue and Lambda for processing and data formatting, that access. So I have shown all the JSON there. Usually in the real life, we do a copy and paste and make some modifications there. We do not write it from scratch. Now, uh, for Elasticsearch, it's a similar kind of setup, but for Elasticsearch, what we usually do is it's a one-step process. The writing happens directly to Elasticsearch. But for failed records, suppose the data doesn't go through for some reasons, we have a bucket, and we also use this for backup of all the records. In case we something gets messed up and we want the backup of all the records, we keep it in S3. We can use KMS for encryption. We can use CloudWatch for monitoring purposes. And this is the privilege we have to do. We have to assign actions for describing Elasticsearch domain, uh, describe the domain configuration, and ES HTTP post and EH HTTP put to put the records in. These access we have to provide. So in a nutshell, what you have to do is the same S3 access that we discussed previously, we have to provide it, and KMS encryption, CloudWatch logs, Lambda invocation, and ES, the same access you have to provide here. The only thing new is the ES actions, that is Elasticsearch actions. Now what happens is if Elasticsearch is on a VPC, so you have to provide these additional set of actions. If you remove these actions, what will happen is the scale out. If there are a lot of records coming and Firehose is reading a lot of records, then and writing less, a throttle will happen, and scale out cannot happen because you have not provided these access in your VPC. So with Splunk, what we do is Firehose writes to Splunk directly, one step process. Basically, there is a Splunk HTTP event collector. That's where it writes, and the failed records or the backup of all records is kept in S3. You can use KMS for encryption and CloudWatch for monitoring. Now you see the process is similar to Redshift. So if you see the Redshift VPC cluster, what we did is in the VPC we told that make this publicly accessible, and then what we are saying is this IP, the Firehose IP, you have to unblock it here so that it can talk. It's logic sense, common sense. This guy is trying to talk to this guy, and this in a VPC usually everything is blocked from outside, so you have to open it for this guy only. So the same stuff is needed for Splunk on VPC also. Now what if there is a cross account delivery? That means your S3 bucket is in a different account. So in that case, something special needs to be done. So these are the two steps. We create a IAM role in account A, create bucket policy in account B. Okay. So using the IAM role, you create a delivery stream in account A. So you create a bucket policy here in the account B, and IAM role here, and you attach this policy. You see here, we attach this policy put object ACL. This is the only thing which is different from the previous S3 one for cross account. So remember the previous slide where I had explained that this is an additional stuff that we have to add. So this is what we do here. Now what if you have to write this to a MongoDB, etc. So Kinesis Firehose can put the data to HTTP endpoint. You can still use encryption, you can use CloudWatch, etc. So what you have to do is you still have to provide S3 access, because your backup or failed record will go there. Encryption will happen through KMS. You have to provide that access. Log access you have to provide. And if you're using Lambda, then Lambda invocation access also you have to provide. So this interaction with HTTP endpoint, even if HTTP endpoint is another account or another region, still it can do it. So this is vital for HTTP endpoint. If it is in another account or another region, that communication works. But if your S3 bucket is in another account, or sorry, another region, it will not work. If your Redshift is in another region, it will not work, or another account also, it will not work. Only for HTTP endpoint it will work. So let's look at some of the screens where when you try to create a delivery stream. No? So these are the screens. So you first go into AWS and then you search for Kinesis. And then you click here, the create delivery stream. You click here. You give a stream name. Then you choose the source. So you can use direct put or Kinesis stream. So here your AWS IoT, CloudWatch logs, CloudWatch events can be used. If you want your record to be transformed, enable this. This is your transformation of records using Lambda. Enable this. If you want to format your data, enable this. Preferably Apache PACU and Apache ORC. These are preferred formats than JSON because the query works fast. Then you can choose the destination out of one of these four. For S3 destination, you have to provide the bucket, link or prefix. So you can create a new bucket. You can provide a prefix and also a prefix for errors. These will act like, say, two separate folders. For the delivery stream, you can provide buffer size and buffer interval. If you want error logging, then enable this. You have to provide the IAM role here. You provide the IAM role. So you have created your delivery stream. What if after creation you want to update the destination? So you have to use the update destination operation to do that. You can also use the console. So for example, in this case, you have a S3 and you have to change the path of that S3, a different URL, maybe with a prefix. If you have to do this, then you can fire the update destination command. That's the operation. In this case, what happens is, since both are same sources, the parameters are merged. And while updating, if you don't provide some of the parameters, the old parameters will be used. Whenever the update is done, it takes few minutes. Till that time, the stream status is active, and suppose, and in this case, it will continue to write to this path. After a few minutes, once the path changes, then the delivery stream will write to this path. Now take another scenario. You are on S3 and you are swapping this to be put on Redshift. You want to update the destination to Redshift. Now these are two different destinations. Parameters cannot be merged. In this case, while updating, if you don't provide all the parameters, it will ask for it or give error. Now Elasticsearch has a constraint. You cannot change the destination. You cannot update it from ES to S3 or Elasticsearch to Redshift. These cannot be done. It is not possible. Now the update destination for Elasticsearch is possible if it's in the same VPC but a different URL. This update is possible. That's why it's a tick mark. But this is not possible. That is the Elasticsearch being taken to a different VPC. That update cannot be possible. Now, if you want to make configuration changes where Elasticsearch is in another account, that's not possible. Or Elasticsearch is in another region, that's not possible. Now what if let's look at data preparation and transformation here. So for data preparation and transformation, Kinesis sends the data to Lambda. Lambda transforms it and sends it back to Kinesis Firehose, and then it sends it to the target, which can be S3 or Redshift. In this case, it is Elasticsearch. So one thing is important is, when Firehose sends the data to Lambda, it sends a record ID, and Lambda should process and send the data with the same record ID. So there are three things it sends: record ID, result, and data. So result is like the status, whether it's a successful, etc. and data is the actual transformed data. So the record ID has to be same both the ways. Then it sends the status and the data. So the result can have these values: OK, dropped, or processing failed. So dropped means there is a genuine reason why it got dropped, but processing failed means the transformation could not be succeeded. Now it is always recommended that a copy of data is backed up in S3 whenever these transformations happen, so that troubleshooting is easy. And since it's a real-time thing, so that data is already gone from Firehose, so it's better to back it up so that tomorrow if you want to make a manual move through some program or triggering a program, you can do it. Now when you want to add the data to the stream, you can do it through data streams, IoT, CloudWatch events, and CloudWatch logs. So you can use Kinesis agent on your servers as well. Okay, so Kinesis agents, like it's a EC2 instance, you install an agent that it will constantly monitor and send the logs to a delivery stream. Kinesis Firehose delivery stream, it works only on so it's a Linux platform. So it's not the delivery Firehose stream, but Kinesis agent. This agent that we are speaking about, it only works on Linux and Red Hat platform. It doesn't work on other platforms. Now let's also look at a case where you can use API using SDK to put record in Firehose. That is also doable. Now what if you are using you are using Kinesis stream as your source? So your put record here at the Firehose will not work. You have to use put record at the stream level. Okay, now let's look at here. If your source is IoT, so what IoT does is it creates IoT actions and the events are sent to Firehose. If your source is CloudWatch logs, here also you have to create a subscription filter. In CloudWatch, you have to create a subscription filter and the events are sent to Firehose. Now let's talk about the data delivery frequency. So if you are sending the data to S3, the delivery frequency, so it depends on the buffer size and buffer interval. This is the min and max limit for buffer size. This is for buffer interval. So 1 MB to 128 MB for buffer size and 60 to 900 seconds for buffer interval. So what happens is you read this text. If the Firehose delivery stream is reading the data and the reads are pretty high and the writing is not happening at that pace, then Firehose will increase the buffer size and buffer interval. Now what if you are writing to copy command, I mean you're writing to Redshift? So it's a two-step process. You first write to S3 and then from S3 you write to Redshift cluster. So the frequency depends upon how soon this copy command ends. So the movement from S3 to Redshift cluster is done through a copy command. And how soon this copy command ends? If the copy command ends, then the next batch of copy command is fired. And these files are stored in a manifest folder, and these are called manifest files because this is used for temporary purpose to finally send it to Redshift cluster. So just remember this term manifest. If you are sending the data to Elasticsearch, that again depends on the buffer size and buffer interval. In this case, the buffer size is 1 MB to 100 MB and the buffer interval is 60 to 900 seconds. So here also, if the stream has to catch up, then it will increase the buffer size and automatically to catch up and make sure that all data is delivered to the destination. So in this, one more thing to remember is these backup modes. There are two backup modes: all documents and failed documents. In all documents, you know, all documents are stored in S3 as a backup. For failed documents, only failed documents are stored as S3 as backup. So for all documents, what happens is all documents plus the failed documents, both are stored. Okay. And just a fact check. Can you send data to multiple buckets in one stream sending to two buckets? No, not possible. Bucket 2 is wrong. You cannot, one stream cannot send to multiple targets. You can only send to one target. So what needs to be done? You create two streams like this. so that this stream can write to bucket 1 and this stream to write to bucket 2. A second fact check: can Firehose write to multiple Redshift clusters or tables? No. So in this also, in this case, you have to create two streams, one to write to first cluster or first table, the other to write to second cluster or second table. Okay. Third fact check: can Firehose write to multiple domains or indexes? No. Here also it can only write to one index or one domain. So if you want to write to multiple domains and indexes, you have to create two streams or multiple streams. Now, if you want to write data to ES in a VPC, what we have to do is, this communication happens through ENI. ENI adapters needs to be created for each subnet. So cross account ENI in another VPC has to be created, and Kinesis communicates through that. So if you have to scale, the reads are more and the writes has to be scaled, then more ENIs will be created here. Now let's look at some troubleshooting areas. So first understand what is throttling. Your Firehose has this capacity: 2000 transactions per second, or 5000 records per second, or 5 MB per second. This is your Firehose capacity. So if there is more data coming in, then throttle occurs. So IoT is sending more data and this capacity has exceeded, so throttle happens. In this case, manually you have to put a service limit increase form to AWS to increase this. Now in some cases you will see duplication happens, very rarely. So if the first batch was trying to write and there was continuous timeout, and a reattempt was made and the reattempt got succeeded, and somehow the first one also went through successfully. So that time there is a chance of duplication. It is a very rare happening. Now, what if a failure happens when Firehose is trying to write to target? In this case, it's showing S3, but consider other targets also. So in this case, for S3, if there is a failure, it will retry every 5 seconds for 24 hours and then discard that batch or that record. In case of Redshift, it is retry after every 5 minutes for 120 minutes, that is 2 hours, and then discard that batch for copy. Error data is sent to manifest files in the error folder. And for Elasticsearch, the retry is done between 0 to 7200 seconds. Details on skip documents are again delivered to S3. So all errors that is happening is delivered to S3 in the Elasticsearch fail folder bucket, so that you can do a manual backfill later. Now let's look at failures in data transformation. There can be two types of failures. Let's look at failure type 1. It is like Firehose is invoking Lambda, and due to some network timeout error, there is an invocation problem. So in this case, the invocation errors are sent to CloudWatch logs. Okay, and the invocation errors due to Lambda invocation limit crossed or network timeout. So this is saying that if the network times out or the invocation limit of Lambda crosses, then this happens. By default, a retry is done 3 times, but this value is configurable between 0 to 300. Let's look at type 2, where the processing by Lambda fails. So in this scenario, Lambda writes to CloudWatch logs. So to summarize, for failure type 1, Kinesis Firehose, it writes the invocation errors into CloudWatch logs, and for failure type 2, Lambda writes to CloudWatch logs because the processing failed. Now sometimes we will see your S3 size is larger than Firehose. So we discussed that problem where S3 size was lower than your buffer size, and that happens because of compression. But in this case, S3 size is larger than Firehose buffer size. Why it happens is because your, suppose IoT, the source is sending more data, the less writing is happening here at less speed. So Firehose increases the buffer size automatically. So that's why more data comes in, you see a larger file size, but your buffer size that was set, that parameter if you see, that is smaller than the file size. So overall, there are three folders that are created in S3. The first folder is for errors. So whether there are writing errors or during copy from S3 to Redshift cluster, these are present here. Elasticsearch field is where the documents that fail to load in Elasticsearch domain, it can be found here. So we can re-index these documents manually for backfill. And processing field is another folder. So here those records are stored which failed during the Lambda transformation. So you can reprocess these manually later. There is a CloudTrail integration available for API calls. So suppose the AWS IoT writes through API calls, and CloudTrail keeps a log of that. Let's look at pricing quickly. So Kinesis Firehose is not free. So if you're using a free tier, you will not get this service free of cost. There are charges. The model works as pay as you go, and the usage or the pricing calculation is done on GB used rounded to 5 KB. Now if you're writing to S3, there will be extra storage cost for S3. If you're using Lambda for data transformation, there will be extra cost for Lambda. If you are writing to CloudWatch, the logs, I mean the errors, if you're writing to CloudWatch, there will be extra charges. The SLA is 99.9% monthly uptime. If there is an issue where one availability zone had a lesser SLA, then you can claim for a SLA credit. Now let's quickly look at Kinesis agent. Like I explained before, it is a Java based application. So suppose you put it on a EC2 instance, it will monitor EC2 instance and send the logs to the Fire host. Okay, and this agent only works on Linux based environments. Now you have KPL, that is Kinesis producer library. This can be used for data combining or aggregation, but when it sends to data streams and when it comes to Firehose de-aggregates it. So this is one important concept. KPL aggregates the data and sends it, and Firehose de-aggregates it, and then it sends to Lambda for transformation, etc. So we have come to the end of this topic. We have covered this topic in full detail and depth, which is very important for the data and analytics certification. There will be many more videos which will come, which is related to this topic. If you like this video, I would request you to please like and subscribe to my channel. The more likes and subscribes I get, I would keep uploading these concepts for you. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication to prepare this content, and the graphical representation really makes it easy to understand. So I request you to please subscribe to my channel and like my videos. Thank you.